Today we're diving into Labour's very grim announcement ahead of the October budget. Keir Starmer has doubled down on warnings that Rachel Reeves's upcoming budget is going to be, in his words, tough. This comes just as the Labour Party faces fierce criticism over the controversial cuts to the winter fuel payment, already sparking outrage among pensioners and political opponents alike. Stay tuned, because what we're hearing about potential tax hikes, welfare reductions, and cuts to public services could be just the tip of the iceberg. Starmer's leadership and Labour's fiscal policies are about to face their biggest test yet. Make sure to like and subscribe for more breaking news analysis, and let's dive in. Keir Starmer's message to the British public is stark: prepare for pain. As we edge closer to Rachel Reeves's budget announcement, the Labour Party is under mounting pressure from both critics and supporters. At the centre of the storm is the government's decision to slash winter fuel payments. Historically, this critical benefit has helped pensioners survive the harsh winter months, providing them with much-needed relief on energy bills. However, Labour's new plan restricts the payment to pensioners receiving pension credit, a move that has already triggered widespread outrage. This controversial cut is seen by many as a betrayal of Labour's core voter base. After all, Labour has always positioned itself as the party of the working class, the elderly, and the vulnerable. And yet, here we are, with Reeves and Starmer defending what seems like an austerity-style measure that could leave thousands of pensioners struggling to heat their homes this winter. The optics are terrible, and the public response has been far from forgiving. Rachel Reeves, however, insists that these cuts are unavoidable. She's been frank about the state of the nation's finances, claiming that next month's budget will involve difficult decisions on tax, spending, and welfare. Starmer has backed her up, emphasising the urgency of tackling the government's £22 billion funding shortfall. He recently stated, "We couldn't pretend it's not there. That means really difficult decisions." The problem is, these difficult decisions seem to be disproportionately impacting the most vulnerable. Alongside the cuts to the winter fuel payment, there are rumours that Reeves's budget will introduce a cap on lump sum allowances, LSA, which could affect retirement funds for many. Furthermore, there's speculation that the budget could include tax hikes on everyday items like beer, wine, and spirits. For many working families, this could be the last straw, especially after years of rising living costs and stagnant wages. But it doesn't stop there. Reeves is also reportedly looking into a council tax reform that could result in higher taxes for homeowners in various parts of the country. Critics from both sides of the political spectrum have labelled this as yet another attack on the middle class and working families who are already struggling under the weight of rising inflation and mortgage rates. If these reforms make it into the final budget, Labour could find itself in the middle of a political firestorm. The question on everyone's mind is Labour about to introduce Austerity 2.0? Many within the party are bracing for this very scenario. Trade unions, party activists, and even some MPs are expected to vehemently oppose these cuts at the upcoming Labour Party conference in Liverpool. Starmer's leadership could face serious challenges from within his own ranks, as the left-wing faction of the party accuses him of betraying Labour's progressive values. Starmer, however, has pledged to defend public services from further austerity. He's repeatedly stressed that public services in the UK are already cut to the bone after years of Conservative rule, and that more cuts would cripple essential services like healthcare and education. In his latest interview, he expressed deep concern for the state of public services, saying, "I'm acutely aware that our public services are on their knees. We have to make sure that they are functioning properly. But with a £22 billion gap in public finances, how realistic is it for Labour to maintain this balancing act?" The Labour leader has also made it clear that working people should not bear the brunt of any new tax rises. "People have had a lot of tax rises, and there's not much more room for tax rises. That's why I made the commitment in relation to working people," he explained. But the devil will be in the details, and the public remains sceptical. Complicating matters further, Starmer's personal approval ratings have plummeted to their lowest point since becoming Labour leader. A recent poll showed that his ratings have dropped a staggering 45 points since July, and for the first time, he's polling below former Tory leader Rishi Sunak. For Starmer, whose leadership was built on the promise of competence and integrity, this represents a significant challenge. While Labour battles its budget crisis, there's a very different political storm brewing on the right. Reports have surfaced suggesting that Rishi Sunak, the former Tory leader, was involved in secret talks about striking an electoral pact with none other than Nigel Farage and Reform UK. Yes, you heard that right. Rishi Sunak, the man who once distanced himself from Farage's populist politics, was allegedly exploring the possibility of a joint Tory Reform ticket in red wall constituencies. According to insiders, Sunak's team was desperate to shore up support in these key battlegrounds, where Tory votes have been hemorrhaging to both Labour and Reform UK. It's no secret that the so-called red wall constituencies, former Labour strongholds that voted for the Tories in 2019, are now a critical political battleground. And with the next general election on the horizon, some Tory MPs have been floating the idea of a deal with Reform UK to prevent further losses. This idea reportedly gained traction within Sunak's camp, with Dame Andrea Jenkins, a prominent Johnson ally, and Craig Williams, a former MP, holding discussions with Farage's team. The plan was simple: run joint Tory Reform candidates in pro-Brexit, ex-Labour heartlands. The thinking was that a unified front could prevent Labour from regaining these key seats. But while Farage was reportedly open to discussions, the proposal ultimately fell apart due to intense infighting within the Conservative Party. Sunak's inner circle was said to be deeply divided over the idea, with some advisers holding a visceral hatred for Farage and his political style. But Farage isn't going anywhere. His Reform UK party has been making steady gains, particularly in constituencies where voters feel abandoned by both major parties. At the most recent election, Reform UK picked up more than 4 million votes, returning 5 MPs to Parliament. Farage himself has even hinted at the possibility of a reverse takeover of the Conservative Party, leaving many Tories worried about their future prospects. Farage, ever the opportunist, is keeping his options open. He recently quipped that he'd be up for a conversation with the Tories, but for now, Reform UK leader Richard Tice has dismissed any rumours of a formal pact. In fact, Tice has been vocal about rejecting any deals with the Tories, accusing them of betraying Brexit and failing to control immigration. Keir Starmer's leadership is hanging by a thread. With an unpopular budget looming and his approval ratings in free fall, the Labour leader is under immense pressure to deliver a plan that balances the nation's financial woes with his promise to protect public services. The winter fuel payment cuts and potential tax hikes have already drawn sharp criticism, and the backlash from within his own party could be just as damaging as the public outcry. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak's flirtation with Nigel Farage signals a growing desperation on the right. As the Tories face mounting pressure from Reform UK, the possibility of a political alliance between the two parties could reshape the landscape of British politics. Will Sunak and Farage team up, or will their differences prove too great? One thing is certain: the political drama in the UK is far from over. Stay tuned, because the next few months could determine the future of both Labour and the Conservatives. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.